G'day guys, my name is Walcott and welcome back to my channel. Thank you for following my content, I really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, otherwise YouTube algorithm might not recommend my videos to you anymore. And it's Tuesday, it's news day, the world of union is on fire. Let's have a look at the news of last week. There has been a lot of international rugby being played. There has been a lot of referee versus coaching going on. And the big one, Rassie Erasmus hearing results came through. So we will go through a lot of the juicy details from that hearing, from these 80-page documents. Hearing, there's a lot of interesting stuff, including some of the old court hearings from Eddie Jones came out. So we're looking at that. Some of the exact details from how the video got leaked. There's like a little recap of all the events that happened leading up to the leak. So we'll have a look at that, and we'll look at obviously the sanctions and just a quick recap of everything that's happened leading up to that, to this whole saga of Rassie Erasmus. They call it Rassiegate in some of the newspaper articles. We'll have a look at everything leading up to these events. So first up, let's quickly go through the results and we get on with the Rassiegate. So first up, the world rankings has been seeing a few bumps. Overall, France bumped up a point, beating the New Zealand All Blacks. Australia dropped another spot after losing to Wales. Wales moved up the spot. Argentina dropped down a spot. And everybody else remained the same. So the big results on the weekend. First out with Japan. Again, losing a tie game to Scotland. Pretty much in the game all the way to the last maybe 5-10 minutes. Scotland finally managed to pull away Italy, beating Uruguay, and then we have Fijian draw with Georgia. This is a very surprising result, and England just edging out 1 point over the Springboks. Last minute penalty. While England was really getting dominated in the second half. It was very, very, very lucky for England to edge out this win. And then we have Romania beating Tonga. In Romania beating Tonga, and then we have Wales beating Wallabies with 2 extra men on the field, 29-28, and then we have the All Blacks unfortunately falling short to the French, 40 points to 25 for the All Blacks, and then Ireland beating down a very tired and exhausted Argentinian side, 53 points to 7, with very dominant forward performance by the Irish team. So the All Blacks obviously is under the scrutiny once again following the loss to France. So one of the issues that some of the players raised was that, especially Dan Coles, was that the game was played at 9 o'clock in France. So as a result, this game was, basically normally the All Blacks don't play that late. Normally latest is like 8 o'clock in New Zealand. So normally they don't play at night already. But also the fact that they were traveling around, depends on which time zone you're in. It could be like 11, the week before where they were like in, I think it was in Italy, was it in Ireland? So it could be like 11 in Ireland. So it depends on how well they adjust at the time. It could be even later for the players to actually adjust to it. So that really played into the fatigue factor the All Blacks talked about. And as a result, there has been a lot of criticism to the head coach, Ian Foster. And Foster kind of echoed the same issues that the All Blacks were facing, fatigue, being away from home for very long periods of time, and having to play back-to-back games, 5 back-to-back games in a row every week after week is also something that doesn't happen very often in rugby. You normally get a bit of a break after 2 or 3 weeks of play. And there's been talks about Scott Robinson should have been selected over Fozzie. Fozzie has just signed a deal with the New Zealand Rugby, I think just before the Rugby Championship started. So he's kind of like locked into 2023 at the moment, and obviously the New Zealand Rugby came out and said they are in support of Fozzie to 2023 Rugby World Cup. The Scott Robinson basically said he's got his own opinions when asked about the All Blacks. He'll just hold, it's not really appropriate for him to talk about his opinion. And Fozzie is the worst. Currently the All Blacks has been the worst in their 12 years, worst season in 12 years. And Ian Foster is currently the second worst win rate in ever as a coach for the All Blacks at 71.4%. So yeah, Foster has a lot of work to do. And yeah, so again, the word horrendous has once been uttered by an Australian coach to criticize a referee. And I wish I would look at some literally in the Rassie Erasmus report, they referenced a Eddie Jones incident with the referee where Eddie Jones called another referee horrendous. So I was really funny to see how they used the same wording for two different coaches from two different times essentially. And essentially, the Wallabies versus Wales game, there was a very, very poor refereeing. The biggest issue that Rennie had with the refereeing was the TMO, Marius Jonker. So Marius Jonker was the referee when Australia played Scotland 2 weeks ago, where Jonker made a very controversial decision to yellow card Alan Alatoa and denying a try to Wallabies. And later on, Will Rugby actually confirmed that was a wrong decision. So Alan Alatoa was wrongly yellow carded wrongly yellow carded, resulting in Australia really struggling to win that game and then eventually losing to Scotland. So a very huge turning point. And then what was really surprising to Rennie was that how is Marius Jonker able to being appointed as TMO again 2 weeks later and then make again horrendous decisions on the field and really just I've got videos on my channel. I feel like he should be investigated, to be quite frank. Because this just that seems to me the TMO made an attempt on the field to conceal penalties for Wales and to show like irrelevant angles to make certain things look worse or better to the benefit of Wales. So I definitely saw that in the game. Let me know your thoughts, but we won't talk about this anymore in this video. I have another video on that. You want to look at that? It's on my channel. And so then, obviously, with his criticism, Rennie is facing potential, sanction by World Rugby. And yeah, obviously very, very disappointed. And as a coach, he has never spoken out against the referee before, and he felt really compelled to do so, as understandably. And then, this kind of ties into the thing. Everything kind of happened after, Rennie came out and also made his public support for Nic Berry, who's in the controversy of Rassiegate. Essentially, Nic Berry was the referee that's been, that was criticized for the first test of the Lions tour, where Rassie Erasmus released an hour-long video criticizing him. Rennie came out in support of him, and then there's a lot of criticism for this because Rennie then suddenly start criticizing referees himself. But this is a bit different for my opinion. Nic Berry is Australian. They literally, rub shoulders in the office down at Rugby Australia, so you can't put him under the bus. Essentially, I feel like that's something that you just have to do. It's a really tough decision. Now let's get on with the Rassiegate. So first up, quick recap of what's happening with Rassie, this whole saga. Basically, first game, British and Irish Lions, 2021. The Nic Berry had a pretty poor performance on the field, and then Rassie Erasmus was not happy. He made a video of an hour long, breaking down all the errors from Nic Berry, and then he essentially, left it at that. And then that video was leaked, and then that was then basically led to this whole saga, putting Nic Berry in the public limelight, putting him in a situation where he was, essentially being criticized publicly, that World Rugby saying that kind of put the game in dispute, that they don't really want to happen, essentially. So that's kind of like what happened going into this hearings. Nic Berry basically came out and said, this has put him into a lot of, unwarranted pressure. Essentially, he made a statement. We'll have a look at it in a minute. So essentially, they went to court, and now the results are back from court, right? So let's have a quickly go through some of this stuff. So these things are really wordy. So I try to make I'm just gonna summarize them for you because I don't want to read it because even for me, I have to read it a few times to make sense for me. So I don't want to just read it, and it's probably going to be difficult for most. This lawyer talk is difficult for people to understand. So I'm just going to quickly recap it for what kind of the gist of each point to just make it easier for you to understand. So first off, the charges laid against against Rassie Erasmus is that basically so one of the thing was that Nic Berry basically claimed that Rassie Erasmus basically showed him the video and threatened that if Nic doesn't, meet up with him to go through everything in the video, he's going to threaten to release the video publicly. And then, so that's basically that's basically the first point. But however, we had evidence that essentially saying that, according to Jackal paper, Nic Berry did not initially say that Rassie threatened to release the video as a condition to meet up with him. So interesting stuff here by both sides. But is eventually World Rugby, they basically said they have no reason to not believe Nic as to his statement that there was essentially a threat that was levied against him for not meeting up and then the release of video as a condition. So number two, basically saying that this is just basic one, he's attacked or basically he's made a critique of the referee. Number two. Number three, he did not accept authority or the decision of the match officials, basically saying that he was rebellious against the decisions that was made by the he did not accept or observe the authority and decision of the match officials. So did not, obey the match officials essentially. And number four, he's basically caused public criticism. Number four is basically Rassie Erasmus publicly criticizing the referee, which is not allowed. Number five, engaging in contact or activity that may impair public confidence in the integrity of the game. I mean, there is no integrity of the game. What do you mean? There is no integrity of the game. Number six, brought the game into dispute when he published or caused the publish of the Erasmus video. So one of the big contention point that Erasmus was defending is that he did not release the video, and we shall go through the timeline for that in a minute. And then there was more sanctions against Springbok Rugby as well. Basically, the main key points here for the two charges is that the Springboks basically failed to manage Rassie Erasmus in terms of his conduct and releasing of the video. And also Springboks failed to manage Kolisi and Stick in terms of commenting on a press conference or with regards to the referee as well. So it's more to do with the Springbok Rugby failing to manage their own members, essentially. That's the charges that's laid upon Springbok Rugby. And then the actual decision was the actual punishment that as a result of these charges is that Rassie Erasmus will be immediately in effect banned from all rugby activities for 2 months. He will be suspended from all matchday activities, including coaching, contact with match officials, and media engagement until September 2022, so almost a year. And then there's a warning against him, and he has to apologize to the match officials. For the South Springbok Rugby, is a £20 fine, and a warning, and also apologies to the officials. So there's quite a lot of discussions about whether the punishment for Erasmus is appropriate. So yeah, anyway, further on. So during the court meetings, I thought this was really interesting. They referenced some of the old proceedings levied against coaches for their conducts against referees. And there were some pretty interesting ones. So get your popcorns. Let's go through. There was one they cited back from 2007 for Eddie Jones against Sansa. And basically Jones, and the listing says, okay, Eddie Jones, the coach of Queensland Reds back then, admitted misconduct, airing out his media comments, which included the following observations. And quote, referee decided to referee the scrums a different way, which I thought was absolutely outrageous. Just can't have that in professional rugby. But unfortunately, in this case, referee decided he was going to square up in the second half. Gave him, I think, the penalties 4 penalties in a row. How is this? How much is the fine? It just says, I'll have to check with my accountant. Whatever the fine, I'll pay twice. I thought it was outrageous. He was fined and ordered to apologize. So this was the Eddie Jones incident. And when Eddie Jones was asked this, he doesn't say he remembers. He just said he remembered he was fined, but he doesn't remember exactly what he said. So classic Eddie. And this is another one. That's another reference that they made. That's really interesting to read. So there was 6 cases referenced by the judicial involving Richard Cockerill, the New England assistant, and when he was the coach of Leinster in 2009. And he basically said he entered the technical area and threatened, this bloke is effing shite. You are all a bunch of useless can't say that word on YouTube, and I'm going to slag this can't say that word on YouTube off to every effing newspaper going. You watch me. Oh, Richard Cockerill. That is good. He admitted both charges and was suspended from matchday coaching for 4 weeks. The suspension from matchday contact, direct and indirect with team and match officials, was on match days. So this is kind of interesting, right? If this guy, for saying this stuff to the referee and threatening to take it off to take it out into the news media, he only got 4 weeks suspension, and Rassie is getting a year. So it seems to be a bit hard done, to be honest, according to a precedent that's set in 2009, essentially. So this was, and then, Eddie Jones just got a fine for what he said. So this is probably what's going to happen with Dave Rennie for saying something pretty similar, horrendous and outrageous, similar words. And then, but Rassie for a year for releasing a video. So the contentious part is obviously whether or not Rassie released the video, or if the video was accidentally leaked by somebody else. So there was a timeline that was in the hearings that showed the videos, like the whole timeline thing. So basically, Rassie, the video source code basically showed Rassie making the video at 7 p.m. Cape Town time, and then it was uploaded without privacy settings into which one was it? Into Vimeo or whatever it was? Not on YouTube. Anyway, so essentially, and then he basically emailed the video to 5 people: Nic Berry, Joe Schmidt, Joe Judge, and the Springbok head coach Jax, and then the Springbok CEO Jury Rooks. Right. So there's some interesting stuff out of this timeline, and you will see here, right? So the link basically although there was no security settings, only people with a link can find the video. So it's impossible for people to find the video unless they have the link, right? So then after he sent the email, he then sent the video to a WhatsApp group, Test Rugby. So British Irish Lions. This is basically the players and coaches from the team. So this is okay. Information to be believed. So basically, this is just the team members to look at the video. So to keep everyone updated on what's happening. So to keep everyone on what's happening. And then and then they started noticing basically that they are getting views on the videos, and then suddenly they basically showed a screenshot that showed 31 views one day. So that's basically 21 extra views in one morning. And then the analytics showed, quite interestingly, South Africa 41. Obviously the team members probably watched the video. 8 from Australia, United Kingdom 3, France 2, United States 0, 54. So United Kingdom's obviously the 3. So obviously you can see this something is a bit fishy here. You can see that United Kingdom's is obviously he emailed them to the head of the rugby there. So the 3 views from the UK is pretty normal because the head of rugby there. And then the Springboks one's pretty normal as well because he sent out to his entire team essentially. 41 is pretty normal view. France, I don't know how they could have got 2 in France. Maybe some of the head of rugby members resides in France, but 8 in Australia. So obviously Nic Berry is the only Australian that was sent with the link. Yeah, so Nic Berry is the only Australian sent with the link. So Nic Berry obviously is the one that sent this to people in Australia to look at, right? There's no way for this to go to Australia out of the other guys. It's not very likely. So Nic Berry is the only one. And this is very interesting as well, because they not only they show the locations, right? Later on, so Rassie is a bit weird saying, you know, how the F this went to Australia and UK. And then the very important part is that there's and then basically on 28th July there was 131 views, 10 views in Australia, and 10 views in Brisbane, Queensland. So Nic Berry did not send this video to Rugby Australia, which is in New South Wales, Sydney, New South Wales. Nic Berry is from Brisbane, Queensland. He sent it to his friends and family in Brisbane. So that does not look like it does not look like to me that Nic Berry sent this to head of Rugby Australia, because it's Sydney. It's in Sydney. That looked like Nic Berry sent it to his mates in Brisbane. So, or his family members in Brisbane. That's you let me know what you think, but that's what it looked like to me. United Kingdom, readings, and Palm Green, and in France too. Yeah. Anyway, so that's probably the weirdest part to me. Like, why there would be 10 views from Queensland in Brisbane, where Nic Berry comes from, like his hometown. He's just sending it to his mates, maybe. So then the next day, on 29th July, everything went off the hook. The Vimo data showing 45k views in 29th of July. So this was when it was done. But the thing that was against the World Rugby has against Rassie is that he did not take the video down when he saw this happen, or try to password code the video. And yeah, so that's kind of like the view. But it is interesting to see that what happened here. Something definitely leaked somewhere along the line here. I mean, this is pretty suspicious how they could be in Queensland, Australia. So Nic Berry basically has a statement. His statement basically says that he is adversely affected by the release of the video, that his name has been tarnished. His integrity and character is something that, attacking of his, integrity and character. And then his family has also been under pressure as a result of this. He's basically said that he felt that Erasmus' video brought into question his professionalism, his integrity as match official, and that there was an inference to be drawn that he was in some way cheated as an official, which is obviously completely untrue. So yeah, though that's basically Nic Berry's statement that's in court. And then, as I mentioned before, there was a bit of disagreement on whether or not Rassie Erasmus has threatened Nic Berry to release the video if he had met up with him. So basically, supposedly Nic Berry called Jaco Pepper and told Jaco Pepper asked Jaco Pepper what to do, and then saying that, and basically Nic Berry says he told Jaco Pepper that Rassie Erasmus told him he's going to release the video, and Jaco Pepper basically saying, I remember having conversation with Nic Berry, but I don't remember Nic Berry telling him that Erasmus was threatening to release the video. So then Erasmus, obviously Nic Berry had to go through all the grievances Rassie Erasmus went through, and out of the 36 clips, 17 of them Nic Berry agrees to, and this is the whole list here. So you can go have read all of this. I'm not going to go through them. So Nic Berry does, to some extent, concede that he made quite a lot of errors in his refereeing. And Nic Berry also did apologize to Siya Kolisi, as one of the main key points in Rassie Erasmus' video is the disrespect Nic Berry showed to Siya Kolisi. In fact, some of the South African media even called him to be racist a little bit. Nic Berry basically came out and apologized to Siya Kolisi, and yeah, that's basically what happened. And then Rassie Erasmus also, prior to the hearing, Erasmus wanted the hearing to be live on TV. I mean, this guy really knows how to make money, right? Like, Erasmus knows what people wants to see, wants to be live on TV, but the application was denied. Like, this will be such a good show. Like, I would totally watch this. And then it was denied, as you know, the court will be like the hearing, all the hearing will be public, and it is actually recorded apparently. So maybe someone can leak the tape, please. So, so apparently it's recorded, but everything will be in public records. But they felt like it was not fair to have public scrutiny and criticism with a live television show whilst the proceedings were being conducted, and it will be unfair and unwanted public criticism. And then, so as one of the appeals that Rassie Erasmus wants to show is that he felt that the punishment for 1 year layoff is too long, as it will affect his incentive bonuses. So it is kind of true, like, right, if you bang him from in being involved for too long, essentially some of his pay package involves him being involved and winning the match, essentially. So if he can't be there to win the match, he's actually not going to be able to get paid for his for the win bonus, essentially. And basically what that does is you're actually finding him a tremendous amount of money. That's really unfair, because he's actually lost. But that's basically his argument here. Like, he's going to be losing a lot more money than than if they just fine him a set amount. That instead of him being not able to be there as a coach during match days and forfeiting his bonuses, which could be a much bigger amount than whatever fine they wanted to leverage against him. So this is one of the things that he wants to protest for his ban. But yeah, I think I do think it's probably a bit too long, a year ban for this. So this, obviously, the South African media, it's a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment. All kind of criticisms coming out. You can go have a read on this. This is a bit reminiscent of my YouTube comments on some videos that I'm making, but you can go read them yourself. I'm not gonna go through them here. So quickly finish off the video with some other rugby related news. So the Brain Health Institute launches basically what can I say? So yeah, World Rugby has launched an initiative to promote to kind of like, as a result of them being sued, to promote like brain health, which includes like reduced alcohol consumption and managing depression and stuff. And they basically say amongst one of the 12 factors for dementia, which is something that Carl Heyman, this guy, is suing, and amongst other people are suing World Rugby. It's interesting. Okay, there's some interesting fact here I wanted to just point out. So the Brain Health Initiative, which is supported by the International Rugby Player Association, comes as the game authorities faces legal action over an alleged failure to protect players from the risk of concussion. World Rugby, the Rugby Football Union, so that's the England one, and the Welsh Rugby Union are facing a lawsuit for an excess of 150 former players who are suffering from traumatic brain injury, early onset of dementia, and probable chronic traumatic, I don't even know what that means. So yeah, CET. This was a lawsuit recently joined by Carl Heyman, who was a former All Black tight head prop, the best tight head prop in the world at the time. So this is kind of like the World Rugby trying to cover the bums in terms of this lawsuit. I feel like they basically come up with a lot of excuses as to causing of dementia, like early dementia, and try to push, being hit in the head as a lesser factor. That's why they kind of mention here alcohol consumption and depression. I mean, everybody drinks alcohol. Nobody, you don't see 90% of the population have early onset of dementia at 41 for Carl Heyman's, right? So they're just literally trying to water down the issue and try to, cover their own butts, essentially. I thought it was a bit interesting. I hope they, I hope they get what they deserve for some of the stuff they've done. So, again, there's singularly more player initiative to take care of ex-players from World Rugby, from the CEO. But yeah, okay. again, an attempt to cover the butts. The Suntory Sungolife signed Damian McKenzie, Dmac. So I think he's on a sabbatical for 1 season. Yeah, so for 1 season. So Dmac can go overseas, have a bit of fun, get a bit of break, and make a bit of money. And then we have Crusaders signing, this has been reported a while ago, Pablo Materas. The thing I want to talk about this one is the fact that there's already really high competition for the Crusaders spot, and I'm actually baffled why they signed Materas, because the Crusaders don't need Materas. They already have excellent loose forwards. And to be honest, the All Blacks is lacking a bit in the forward pack. And one of the issues that I thought with the All Black scrum, especially with the tie 5, especially with the front rows, they're just going down to the front row, is the fact that the All Blacks don't have a world-class tight head prop. And the one of the thing I point to is that the best tight head prop in New Zealand, Super Rugby New Zealand, is Michael Alaalatoa, who plays for Tonga. Plays for Samoa. So they are literally, so I feel like maybe the All Blacks needs to, I don't know. I feel like maybe they've just not having some of their talent, because I don't know why, like they already have too much talent. They wanted to grow. I don't know why they're having more competition that comes in to take up a spot in the team, essentially. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts. I did feel like that this is one of the reasons why the All Blacks in some of the key positions are lacking, because they literally, the best tight head prop, trained under the regiment of the Crusaders is plays for Samoa. Let me know what you thought. I thought maybe, the Crusaders tight head prop should be the All Blacks starting tight head prop. And Michael Alaalatoa is the best prop in New Zealand, tight head prop in New Zealand. So, anyway, more concussion issues forcing ex-All Black to retire at 26. Dylan Hunt, I'm not too familiar with him. I think he had a little bit of involvement with the All Blacks in 2015? Or was it 2020 something? 2017. So, and then another guy that was retired due to injury, that's Nathan Harris for the All Blacks. So another guy there, and finally Richie Mo'unga. I think this might be a bit of criticism on his behalf, saying that he could potentially be missing out some of the earlier games for the Crusaders, as his contract entitles him to an extended off season. So it depends on how many times he's been traveling overseas. He may be entitled to take a break for the first few rounds of the Super Rugby. So I feel like this isn't. This we'll have to see whether or not he takes the break. Maybe a bit of a critique on his, the media just trying to take a jab at him for his performances in recent times. Maybe. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the Rassie saga. Hopefully you find that interesting. I thought that was very interesting with some of the referee stuff. All the stuff goes behind the scenes. And let me know your thoughts. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys, I don't know, some more contents later this week. I'll come up with something. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.